What's happening, everybody? It's me, Allie Burns from Picks and Parlays, and it's time for the Picks and Parlays Power Hour. We've got a lot to unpack. It's the first week of the NFL season. We're in week 2 of college football, so lots and lots of free picks coming your way. But before we even start the party, I need you to like and subscribe. That's how the party gets started, is with thumbs up, right? We're all having a good time here. Like, subscribe, and then ring the bell for notifications. That way you're never missing out on any of our free picks. It's lots of value. The other thing you've got to check out is our official sponsor, Caesar Sportsbook. They've now gone live in Pennsylvania. Kansas is rolling along as well. All you got to do is use the promo code MORNINGFUL when you download the app onto your phone. It's going to get all new accounts up to $1,250 in a risk-free first bet, plus 1,000 tier points, plus 1,000 rewards credits. It's a really good deal. You guys want to get signed up with Caesars. It's the book that I use every single day. Okay, just saying. Just saying. All right, so with me today, I've got 3 experts. I've got Craig Trapp, I've got Ross Benjamin, and I have got Nicholas Parsons. All these guys are here to give free picks for you. So we're going to get the party started with Craig Trapp, the one, the only. How you doing, El Jefe?
Well, NFL Week 1 it doesn't get much better. Maybe March Madness. The first week of March Madness is maybe a more exciting and where I'm looking forward to it more. But I'm really excited. I think there's some good matchups in the NFL. I think Week 2 of college football, I think, is a little easier because now we've seen these teams play, and now we can at least handicap what we know, not what we think we know. So excited to get it going.
Yeah, that's, week 0s, week 1s. They're never easy because, we haven't seen them play. There's a whole bunch of new guys on the teams, and we got to kind of sort it out and do our best. But now we've got some real information. So we're going to start out in college football. All right. We're doing Tennessee at Pitt. That's the way we're going to do it. Right now, it opened at Tennessee -5.5. Now it's a 6.5. I've got a total. It started 63.5 and went up 3 points to 65.5. What are we looking at in this one, Craig? What are we doing? Both teams are 1-0. How's it going to go down?
I'm a little shocked that Tennessee's this big a favorite. To be very honest, I thought Pitt at times looked, it was week 1. They looked good at times. They played a much tougher team. I mean, it was the backyard brawl. People that don't know, that's as big as a rivalry is probably in college football that people don't know about. Haven't played in forever. So that was a very, to be able to pull that out down the whole game and come back to win the way they did. I thought that was impressive. Tennessee, obviously impressive, but hey, they played Ball State at home. Now they have to go on the road. I think this will probably be sold out stadium. I think it's going to be a really good game. I don't know about you, but I was impressed with both of these offenses last week. I mean, what was it? 59 points from Tennessee. 38 from West Virginia, from Pitt, although one of those, the important one, was off a pick 6.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So when I'm looking at this game, though, I think you have to say, what do you trust more? Do you trust this Pitt offense more, or do you trust the Tennessee offense more? And to me, as much as I was impressed with the way Tennessee did it, I just think that was kind of smoke and mirrors against a team like Ball State that's not very good. I think this Pitt defense is obviously way more talented on the road. I think Pitt's the play here. I think you take the points. I think you're going to see Pitt score with Tennessee. It's going to be a very high-scoring game. I mean, when you see a total this high, you don't expect a ton of defenses. 66. I mean, you don't expect a ton of stops. 1 or 2 stops is all you need if you're getting 6.5 points. You always have that back door open when you're getting points at home. So I like Pitt plus the points here. I wouldn't go crazy with this game because this is one of those games, maybe you play the over as well and enjoy the scoring.
That's a good call because there were a ton of points in both of those games,
Yep.
and these are the 2 teams that scored most of the points. So I like where you're headed with this one. I was also impressed. I wasn't as impressed with Tennessee because I kind of saw it coming, but Pitt made me look. They made me look around. They definitely did. So I like where we're going with this. We're taking Pitt plus the 6.5 when they take on Tennessee this Saturday, September the 10th. It's my kid's birthday, actually. Okay, so let's move into the NFL. We're talking 49ers at the Bears. But before we do, I got to remind everybody, there's a big deal happening right now. We're running out of time. Over at picksandparlays.net, NFL season passes are at an early bird special, $6.49, or the all football pass is $7.99. All right. That's every single pick in football off whatever capper you choose for a whole season, $7.99. So you want to use the promo code NFL. It saves you 20% off whichever you buy. Really, really good deal. You guys want to, maybe you pick up Craig Trapp's all season pass. I don't know, pick your favorite guy and ride with them all season long. Okay, so let's talk Niners and the Bears. Niners are a -7 at the Bears. I've heard nothing but bad things about the Bears this season. Just haven't heard one damn good thing about that team. Maybe you could tell me a couple of them. The total on this one is 41. What are we thinking here? Started at a 6.5. It did bump up to a 7, and that 42 is now a 41.5. So little movement there.
Well, I see some 41s even out there. I mean, these lines, and we're taping this on Tuesday, so these lines can change before this weekend, so you got to be careful there. If you like the under, I would get on it now. If you like the Niners, I would get on it now. I'm just saying that because I do think these lines are more likely to move under in this game because I think the good Niners defense, the struggling offensive line of the Bears, the public's probably going to be on the under. Also, since those teams I think have a big disparity as far as the Niners and the Bears. I think more people will be on the road underdog 49ers in this one. So, but when you look at this, there's not a whole lot of positive, like you said, about this Bears team. Justin Fields, like I thought coming out of college, if he was put in the right situation, he could succeed. Guess what? This isn't the right situation. You have a terrible offensive line. He's not the most accurate quarterback. At least he is mobile because he will need to be. This might be the worst offensive line in football. And against a 49ers team that can rush the passer just about as good as anybody, that spells a lot of trouble in this game. Now, the reason why I didn't take the side in this game, and I'm going to be playing the total, is I worry, this is going to be a huge road favorite as far as like the public is always going to be on this. And I just think those usually don't do well week 1, 2, 3. So I'm thinking you stay away from the side of this one. I do think the Niners win. I do think they cover, but it's scary. This is a team that could be dominating, in a low-scoring game. So I do like the under as my best play. But they could be dominating as a low-scoring game, Allie, and then you get like one of those, they're winning 17-7, and the Bears a meaningless field goal, meaningless touchdown late, and they dominate the whole game and they don't cover. So to me, I think you're safer. You take the under here. This 49ers running game and defense going to dominate. Now, I think they have to protect Trey Lance early in this year, and I think they will do so by running the ball. Obviously, Jimmy G re-signing, that was a huge get for the 49ers because, you have a veteran on the sideline. Not saying they're going to, if he's struggling, they're going to go to him. I think this is Trey Lance's team from here on out. But injuries happen a lot to NFL quarterbacks. We saw, remember the Bears last year, early in the year, they had Justin Fields got to play because Andy Dalton went down with the busted little hamstring, and that's when he got to make his start in a 4th to 5th game. So to me, I think it's a huge get for the 49ers. You get Garoppolo. I think that gives a lot of confidence to this team. Like, hey, if he's struggling, maybe we could go to him. If he get injured, we can go to him. But let's take the under here. I think that's the safer play. If you are going to play the side, get on it right away and get that 49ers at 7. It's not that 7.5 would be a death number. You could have got it 6.5 a couple weeks ago. Now you're getting it off of that key number.
And I'm already showing 91% of the cash is on the Niners. They've only moved it up 0.5 point, 81% of the ticket. So that does make me really lean kind of more towards the Bears. But again, I'm not going to play the side in this game. I don't need to get involved. I don't really trust Trey Lance. I'm not sold on him personally. So
but at least he gets to play the Bears defense because the Bears defense, not the best defense in the league. And if you're going to have a road start, this is a perfect spot for it where you're probably not having to score a lot of points. They're probably going to be in the, right there, nip and tuck. So you don't have to, if it's 3rd and long, you can just run a draw play and say, hey, we're going to punt it away and protect our young quarterback and play with our defense. So I think it's a perfect spot for Trey Lance to start, but I'm with you. That is a worrisome. You see all the money, and it's already moved a little bit. Like we said, that 0.5 point from 6.5 to 7, but it takes a lot to move off the key number of 7. So let's hope for bettors that are going to bet San Francisco, it holds to 7 because you get that 7.5. That makes it really tough.
Yeah, get it now. Buy it down if you can. All right, Craig Trapp, thanks so much for stopping by the Power Hour. We're going to roll with Pitt +6 and the Bears under 41. Those are his 2 picks for this weekend. Good luck to you, and thanks, Craig. See you next week. All right. So up next, I've got Ross Benjamin. He's got 2 college football matches and an NFL. We're going to be talking about Louisville UCF and Iowa State and Iowa. That's coming up next. But first, like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and don't forget about our sponsor, Caesar Sportsbook. Up to $1,250 in a risk-free first bet for all new accounts. Plus, you get 1,000 reward credits. Plus, you get 1,000 tier credits. Just download the app onto your phone and use the promo code MORNINGFUL. That's going to get you there. Or just check out the description of the video and click on the link. The promo code's already embedded in there for you. All right, up next, I've got Ross Benjamin coming in. Mr. Benjamin, sir, how are you today?
Good, Ellie. How are you?
I'm great. I'm rocking and rolling. I'm excited for some college football action. So let's just jump right into it. We are going to start off with Louisville and UCF. UCF -5.5 and the total 62.5 on this one. What are you looking at here?
Well, this is going to be a public overreaction, in my opinion, in terms of perception, because Louisville was embarrassed last week on national TV in a 31-7 loss at Syracuse. They were a road favorite of 5 points in that game, and yet they really didn't compete, and they got dominated in that game. On the other hand, you're looking at a Central Florida team that was a 56-10 winner over South Carolina State. Than Louisville faced last week. South Carolina State plays at the FCS level. And this is a textbook example, Ellie, of one team isn't as bad as they look last week, and the other team isn't as good as they look last week. Yeah. Louisville won that game last year at Central Florida, 42-35, and they piled up over 500 yards of total offense in that game, and they were a 7-point underdog in that contest as well. Since 1-8 against the spread following a game in which they scored 42 or more, they scored 56 last week. And here's a nice betting angle. Any college football road underdog of 3.5 to 10 points that's playing in a non-conference game during the first month of the season. They were a bowl team last year, which Louisville was, 48-18 ATS since 1992. That's good for 72.7%. And the average line in those 66 games, I got plus 6.5 here. I'm going with Louisville plus the 6.5 over Central Florida.
Yeah, I'm showing 5.5 here, but my site shows it at a 6 now with 61% of the cash on Central Florida. That 5.5 went to a 6, but we like that because we're on the dog here and we want all the points. So if you can find the 6 or the 6.5, grab it where you can because these lines are moving often, quickly and often. That's how this works. So our other one we're talking about, and before we get going, I do want to remind everybody about that NFL season pass. Ross Benjamin is another great guy to grab one from. $649 for the NFL all season pass or $799 for the all football pass. Use that promo code NFL and it'll save you 20% off. This is the last week of these kind of sales. So guys, pick your favorite capper and jump on them. All right, so we're going to go to Iowa State at Iowa. This one, how do I feel about this one? I always like when these two teams play each other. I've got Iowa at a -3.5. The total was a 43. Now I see it 41.5. Some places I even see a 40 and just a 40 flat. So these numbers are moving too. What are you looking at in this one, Ross?
Drink a lot of coffee, Ellie, before you turn this one on because you're going to need to. Look, here's an Iowa team coming off a 7-3 win versus South Dakota State last week. Yeah. Iowa was held to 166 yards of total offense. South Dakota State is an FCS team that's ranked in the top 5 in their poll. However, this is an Iowa team that's perennially a top 25 team over the last couple seasons. And, the 7 points, the oddity there is they had 2 safeties and a field goal. They didn't even score a touchdown. And look, here's a nice betting angle for you. Anytime you have a non-conference home favorite of between 2 and 6.5 points, they're coming off a straight up 0-6 straight up in ATS since 2003. And those non-conference home favorites within that parameter of point spread, 2 to 6.5. they lost those games by 18 points per contest.
Wow.
It's rare, but it happens. And when it has happened, the home favorites don't do very well in that situation. Iowa State, on the other hand, they had a breather last week as they opened the season against Southeast Missouri State, an FCS team, won that game 42 times. They've been offensively challenged the last couple of years, and I think they will be again this coming week. And Iowa State, big-time revenge, because this is a series that the Iowa Hawkeyes has absolutely dominated over the last decade. I think Iowa State has an excellent opportunity to win this game straight up, but I'm not going to get greedy here. I'm going to take the points. Iowa State plus 3.5 at Iowa.
All right. I like it. That's what we're going to roll with here. Now we're going to move into some NFL action and talk the Ravens at the Jets. Everybody like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and let's go with it. So Ravens are at the Jets. It opened at Ravens 4.5, but with 91% of the money on the Ravens, it jumped up to a -7. That 45 went to a 44.5. So just a little bit of movement towards the under there. I mean, all that money justifies where this is going. How do you feel about it? Is this a preseason overreaction, or are we just down with this?
It's definitely an overreaction. It's definitely public perception. And if value, it was at 4.5 or 5, and now it's up to 7. So that value has been quickly dissipated. Yeah. And like Ellie just alluded to, 90% of the money or 91% of the money on the Ravens so far, and over 80% of the tickets, just an overwhelming amount of money and tickets on Baltimore. And you know what? When that happens, I like to go with a contrarian approach. This is what I deem to be a Captain Obvious pick. Wherever there's a quarterback question mark here with the New York Jets, but you know what? I don't think it matters if Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco plays. Baltimore, by the way, last year 0-4 against the spread and only 1-3 straight up as an away favorite of 2 or more. Since 2019, you might be surprised to know the Jets are 9-5 against the spread as a non-division home dog, and that includes 5-0 against the spread as a non-division home dog of 5 or greater, and also 1 straight up. So they, you get them in a non-division home dog situation. As bad as they've been in recent years, they've been a good cover under those situations. So, and the Jets are vastly improved, Ellie, in my opinion. They still lack quality depth, but their frontline players should make for an improved season. I could see them winning 6 to 7 games this year very easily. I'm going to go with the New York Jets here, go against public perception, go against all of that versus Baltimore.
Yeah, I love getting a whole touchdown with a home dog. I mean, home openers, whole touchdown, let's freaking go. I agree. I don't think the Jets are as bad as everyone is used to them being. Maybe not as bad as everyone thinks, but as bad as they're used to them being. And, Ravens were it's the Ravens, right? Who are like untouchable in preseason. I'm thinking of the right team, right?
You are.
Yeah. Okay. So and everyone's just high on the Ravens right now because you've all been cashing on them for the first 3 weeks of the preseason. And maybe not so much now. So that's what we're going to roll with. The Jets plus 7. We like Iowa State plus the 3.5. And we like, who was your other one? Beep, boop, boop.
Louisville.
Louisville. Yes.
Yep.
Over. Yeah, there it is. Plus 5.5. Okay. So that's what Ross is going with. Head over to picksandparlays.net to find his best bets. Use that promo code NFL to save 20% off whatever you buy from Ross, and definitely look into the NFL season passes and the all football pass, only $799, and you can save 20% off. So really big deal, really hot capper. You're number 5 on the hottest cappers list right now. So keep up the good work, Ross Benjamin. I'll see you next week on the Power Hour.
Thank you for having me, Ellie.
Cheers. All right, guys, we've got one more capper to go, and he has got 2, if not 3 3 games for us to talk about, 2 college football and an NFL. But before we get going, like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And also, don't forget about our sponsor, Caesar Sportsbook, up to $1,250 in a risk-free first bet, plus 1,000 tier credits, plus 1,000 reward credits. You're getting hooked up for all new accounts. And welcome to Kansas and Pennsylvania. You can bet with us now as well, right here at Caesars. All right, without further ado, I've got Nick Parsons from the Insiders Room popping in to talk some foosball. What's happening, Nick?
Yeah, not much. Looking forward to getting into this one with you. This first one, I think we're going to be looking at Boise and New Mexico. And I just wanted to say I might even upgrade this one to a paid selection for my clients here. I like it so much. So this could be a sneak preview. Yeah.
Ooh, I love to hear things like that. So Boise minus 16.5. I am seeing some 16s out there, but they do have 63% of the cash on them. And then the total 45.5. A little Mountain West fun here. What are we going to do with it, Nick?
Well, we have 2 teams in need of a win in New Mexico on Friday night. In my opinion, I think there's going to be a little bit of a shootout here. Well, a shootout for these 2 teams anyways. I mean, this total is so low. Last week, Boise State committed 5 turnovers and was uncharacteristically shut out in the first half. It lost 34-17 at Oregon State. That total went under the number. Quarterback Hank Bachmeier, he had 2 first half interceptions, and then he was benched. But then the Broncos, they made some big adjustments in the second half, Ali. Quarterback Talon Green, he came off the bench. He had 102 yards and 2 scores. And so it was a tale of 2 halves for Boise State last weekend. A terrible first half, a decent second half there. And so I think that we can expect those successful adjustments to be carried over into this game here this weekend. And then on the other side of the field, New Mexico, it lost 7 of 8 Mountain West Conference games last year. It actually had the worst offense in the entire nation last season. And I mean, last weekend, it was just an FCS squad. It beat FCS Maine. But it was a much needed psychological lift for the Lobos. Obviously, New Mexico, it was a 41-0 win over FCS Maine. And quarterback Miles Kendrick, he was 14-17 for 170 yards. He had 2 passing touchdowns. He also had 2 interceptions. Sherrod White, he had 58 rushing yards and a touchdown as well. Now the Broncos, they do have a 5-game winning streak in this series. They win by an average of 29 points in this game. But I think that Kendrick, he's going to be able to move the ball against this Boise State defense. I'm not predicting any huge upsets or anything, but I just think this total is a little low. The bottom line here, Ali, is I think that Boise State is going to keep the foot on the gas from start to finish, but I do think that Kendrick will have an opportunity to put up some points. And so, I think this 42.5, that's a little low. I'm going over.
All right, we are taking it over in the Mountain West. Guys at home, Nick Parsons was 9-1. Insiders Room was 9-1 in the NFL regular season last year. They are really, really hot. And if you're looking for an NFL season pass, it's only $649 over at picksandparlays.net. When you then use the promo code NFL, it'll save you an additional 20% off. Okay. And remember, these picks are not going to be around, or these packages are not going to be around for long. So definitely grab on them. This is the last week for these kind of passes. So next we are going to move into Mississippi State at Arizona. 68% of the cash is on Mississippi State. It opened at an 8. Now I'm seeing 10.5, right? That's what we got there. 63 was the open. I'm showing it out of 59 now, although we do have a 62 here. Nick, what are we thinking about for this game?
Well, this is a bit of a difficult one for sure. At Mississippi State, it's 1-0 straight up and against the spread. It pulled away for 49-23 win over Memphis last weekend. Arizona's off a 38-20 win over San Diego State. It won and covered as well. But when you look at Mississippi State, the first thing you think about, of course, is quarterback Will Rogers. He had a monster stat line for the Bulldogs last year. He had 4,739 passing yards. And so that broke down to 364.5 passing yards per game. He had a 73.9% completion percentage. He had 36 touchdowns, just 9 interceptions. Dylan Johnson, he had 485 rushing yards last year, 4 touchdowns through the on the ground. He also had 65 catches for 422 yards and a touchdown through the air. So On the other side of the field, this is the first time since 2019 that Arizona State has been a home dog in a non-conference home game. In their last 10 games as a home underdog, the Wildcats are just 5-5 against the spread and just 2-8 straight up. I guess what's working against Rogers in this game is that they have to travel across 2 time zones. They're playing a really late game here on the West Coast, 11 o'clock at night. But I think, Mike Leach, he's going to have his team ready. Rogers had a huge weekend last weekend. He had 450 passing yards. I think he's primed for another big weekend here. The Bulldogs, they look pretty good defensively as well. They held Memphis to just 294 total yards of offense. Now, I think maybe surprisingly, this is the first meeting between the schools. And while San Diego State was a good win last weekend for the Wildcats, I'm not ready to buy into the hype quite yet. And so I do know, as you said, that most of the money there is on Mississippi State, but I just think they're too big, they're too talented, and I think they're going to pull away down the stretch. Sometimes the public is right, and I agree with them this time, Allie.
Yeah, Mike Leach is my favorite college coach. I've been with him since Washington State. He's my dude. So, there's nothing I don't believe he can accomplish. And with that air raid offense, I mean, I don't see any reason why you can't score a whole bunch of points. And that's what I think you're going to do when you play the Wildcats. So we're going to rock with Mississippi State minus 10.5 points when they take on Arizona. Okay, so we've got a little bit of NFL to talk about, but I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and don't forget the All Football Pass is also going on, $7.99. Use the promo code NFL and save yourself 20% off of that the last week of these sales. So make sure you're picking up that value while it's here, while it's ready for you guys. Okay, so last one we're going to talk about is the Browns at the Panthers. So this one has been a little bit tricky. It's showing the Panthers -2. On my site right now, I have Panthers -1, but this opened at Panthers +4.5. And 60% of the money is on the Browns. And I know this one's a little tricky because we've got what's his name going back to his old team. Baker Mayfield is going back to the Browns and blah, blah, blah. And all kinds of stuff like that is happening in week 1. But for the purposes of this video, we'll call it a 2.5. What are your thoughts on this one, Nick Parsons? What do you like in here?
Really interesting matchup. As you pointed out, Baker Mayfield is up against his former team, the Browns, right out of the gate. And I mean, Mayfield's already been stirring the pot. He says he's going to mess up his former team, and that's putting it politely. Maybe Baker, he will.
Calm down, Baker. Jesus.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's like a WWE thing here almost at this point. But yeah, maybe he will beat his former team. Maybe he won't. Yeah, Carolina is now the slight favorite here at 2.5 points. And then we have Cleveland. Obviously, it has a lot to work through this season as well. One question I wanted to pose that I don't think a lot of people have thought about, just a hypothetical question. What about for the Cleveland Browns that when Deshaun Watson comes back, what about if the Browns are 2-8 or 1-9? So what do they do in a situation like that, Ellie? Do they they'd be out of it at that point. They would not be able to make the playoffs. So you bring back Watson. I mean, he hasn't played in almost 2 years. It's almost like you got to play him. But at the same time, he received such a huge amount of guaranteed money that they would be risking that where he, in a failed season, what would be the point that he might not even play the following year? And really the better strategy would be to tank at that point. And so, yeah, this is some really interesting stuff. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with this game, but that's something that the Browns would have to hypothetically look at possibly in the future. But anyways, back to this game. I mean, I don't put a lot of stock into the preseason, especially now that it's gone from 4 games down to 3. But Carolina went 2-1 straight up against the spread. It won 21-0 in Buffalo in week 3. Cleveland went 1-2 against the spread and straight up. It lost 21-20 in Philadelphia in week 2 and by an identical score to Chicago in week 3. But now we get into this game. The Browns, they come into this game completely healthy. 100% healthy. The only person basically of any note that they're going to be missing is Watson. Carolina, though, it has plenty of injuries. Both of its backup quarterbacks are out, Darnold and Corral. That means that the 4th stringer, P.J. Walker, is now the backup to Mayfield. Mayfield will likely be without his starting center, his number 2 wide receiver and tight end. There's other injuries to other players as well. Now, the Browns, they have an easy schedule to begin with. They play the Jets, Steelers, and Falcons after this. Carolina, on the other hand, it does play 4 of its first 5 at home, but so these are really tough matchups it has against the Saints, Cardinals, and 49ers. And you know what? In fact, through weeks 1 through 9, this is the only time that Carolina is favored. And Carolina coach Matt Rule, he's just 1-6 against the spread as a home favorite. And honestly, when I'm looking at Mayfield, I look at Jacoby Brissett. I think that Jacoby Brissett could be the best quarterback on the field of play here today, Ali. And so, you know what? I am going to suggest taking the Browns, taking those points. And that's my play on that one.
Yeah, I mean, you said that they're only favored once at home, but really, like, they're not favored in this one. Like they are now, but they weren't to begin with. So there's that for you as well. I like this. I think that the Browns as a whole know Baker better than, like, can do more against Baker in this team than Baker and the Panthers can do against the Browns. That's just my thoughts on this.
Yeah.
I think, these are his old coaches. These are his old players that have watched him and observed him, like, scrutinized his every single move and play for, season after season. So I'm with you. I like the Browns here. I'd love that number to get up to a 3, or even maybe buy it up to a 3 if you can.
Right.
But honestly, I might even look at a money line on this one and just sprinkle a little money line action here, because I do dig the Browns as the pick. All right, so that's how we're going to roll with this. We're taking the Browns, people. We're taking the Browns. And then your college football picks, just to recap, that was
Mississippi State and the
Mississippi
over.
State minus the 10.5 and the over in the Boise State, New Mexico game. That's the way we're going to play this. Nick Parsons, thank you so much for stopping by the Power Hour. Guys, remember, pick up his all football pass, the NFL pass, last week of sales for these things, or just pick up his daily picks every day over at picksandparlays.net and use the promo code NFL to save you 20% off the entire site. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow on the Power Hour at 3 p.m. Eastern.